Hey guys, it's Matt from Train Sim Society and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. We are heading into the first official week of September, which pretty much means Train Sim World 6 is coming out this month. We have a lot to look forward to, but today I'm actually going to be covering a Gamescom interview with Lucas from Dovetail Games. The original video is up on the Train Sim Play YouTube channel, so I'm gonna have a link in the description to that in case you want to watch the entire thing. But a quick heads up before we go any further, the interview itself was conducted in German, and what you're basically hearing here is my breakdown of the English translation from that interview. I did go through the interview and try to make sure that details were translated correctly and that things aligned with our roadmaps and of course what was shown during Dovetail Direct. I'm about 99% confident that all of the translations are accurate, but if you are a German speaker and a German player and notice anything that wasn't translated quite right, please feel free to mention it down in the comments and make any corrections, but I think things should be pretty on point here. But of course, like always, your input is always welcome. And of course, some of what you'll hear in this interview does overlap with things and details that we do already know, and that's just going to be the nature of interviews like this. They're going to reiterate things that have been announced previously, but there are some extra details here that expand on what we already know. I also want to stress how much I personally appreciate Lucas taking the time to do this kind of interview. We don't get opportunities like this often, and even small clarifications or tidbits can help players make a more informed decision when the game launches in just a month. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk Train Sim World 6, first starting with features and access. So Lucas says, just like last year, there is a free starter pack so new players can try the game without paying right away. He confirms here that early access begins on September 25th for special and deluxe, and the full release is on September 30th, which is when the free starter pack window also kicks in. Of course, information we already know and has been confirmed multiple times. I do want to say though that this returning yet once again is definitely a must-have. I don't personally like them doing a yearly release. I get why they do it though. It is business, it keeps the game visible, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating, especially since we have to re-download all of our DLC every single year. And of course, now we have Epic players running into problems with only some DLC carrying over. I assume it's because of the way publishing works on their store, though we don't know for sure. Honestly, without the free starter pack, I think a lot of folks wouldn't bother moving over, and I wouldn't blame them. So the biggest new feature, according to Lucas, is announcements. So these are going to play both on platforms and inside trains, and they are completely dynamic too. If a train is running late, the announcements adapt. Each country has its own system, so they won't feel copy-pasted. On the ICE, announcements are normally done manually in real life, but Lucas states that at launch, only the automatic ones are available. There's a toggle in the settings if you want them on ICET, and you can also turn them off if you prefer silence. I find it really interesting that Lucas mentioned at launch there's only going to be automatic ones, so I don't know if that's some sort of hint that maybe in the future we're gonna have a manual system that we could trigger. There is no confirmation of that, but I think that would be awesome to have, so hopefully one day, or you know, if modders can configure that sort of thing, I would be down for that too. He also highlights the new Storang simulation. I tried my best there with pronunciations, I'm sorry, which in English is essentially random events and train faults. So these include things like temporary speed restrictions and signs spawning on track. I wonder if these signs are going to be different for every region. They haven't talked about that yet, so I'm curious there. We're gonna have small signal delays or even a door that doesn't close until you try it again. This wasn't particularly mentioned in either the Dovetail Direct or the roadmap. And I'm curious to see how many more faults they actually add with the train in time. Lucas says they'll show on the HUD, tie into the train's onboard systems, and you can adjust how frequently they appear, and if you would rather just relax, you can switch them off entirely. I think it's great that we have the option to toggle them. Not everyone is going to want that type of gameplay, but it's nice to have it there for folks that do, and I am one of those people that definitely wants them. I'm honestly so shocked we're getting announcements, random delays, and train faults all at once. Like I mentioned in my reaction announcement stream, I would have expected them to dip feed these features over multiple years and multiple iterations of the game. What I really want though is for these things to apply to AI trains. I don't know if this has been confirmed yet, but if only my service gets delayed, then I'm the only one triggering the late announcements that you're going to hear. I would love to pull into a station and hear that multiple trains are late because they are experiencing their own delays. I don't want it to be just my train that could affect the schedule. I think that would really make the entire system shine. So now on to Leipzig to Dresden. So when it comes to routes, Lucas says Leipzig to Dresden was chosen because Dresden-Riese has been the most popular German route so far. I'm a little shocked by that. I thought it would have been Frankfurt-Fulda, but also Dresden-Riese has been out longer, so I guess that does make sense. It also does provide a lot of variety. Many players asked for the line to continue to Leipzig so long-distance services don't stop short. That way the ICET or the BR411 can finally stretch its legs at 200 kilometers an hour under LZB. On the Dresden side, the Coswig branch and the Dresden-Friedrichstadt freight yard are now included. On the Leipzig side, you'll see Engelsdorf freight yard. For rolling stock, Lucas lists the ICET for high speed, the Talent 2 BR442, the BR146 with Dostos for regional and local travel, and the BR185 for freight duties. He says if you pick up the deluxe edition, you also get the long requested BR294 shunter, and this one has a lot of history. So Lucas revealed that Dovetail Games has had the 294 model sitting in their files for about 7 years, but they could never release it because they didn't have the proper sound recordings. Thanks to Rail Systems, they finally captured the sounds this year, and Lucas says the result is fantastic. So I'm excited to hear, the sounds and what they have for this loco. He mentions that every single core route in Deluxe now gets its own bonus locomotive, not just 2 like last year. For Leipzig to Dresden, that's obviously the BR294, and he says it'll add a lot of fun shunting gameplay at Engelsdorf and Friedrichstadt, plus smaller industry deliveries along the line. Tasks that were previously handled by the BR363, like the chemical plant, can now be done with the 294 as well. As for the setting, Lucas says it's tied specifically to 2018, which keeps things consistent with Dresden-Riese, so that's going to make route hopping easier and keep the technology level the same. On substitution, he confirms it's supported in many cases for compatible shunters, not everywhere, but often enough to notice. So there's going to be a lot to do with this loco, and I hope that eventually this is backported with other routes, so we have layers and substitutions elsewhere. At first, I wasn't really that excited about Dresden-Riese being extended. I thought it'd feel like recycling, but the more I think about it and the more that we learn, the more it honestly makes sense. Dresden-Riese already had great variety, but it lacked proper high-speed running. Extending to Leipzig fixes that, and it also turns it into a route that really does everything I want. I don't have strong feelings about the BR294 itself, but hearing how versatile it is definitely makes me excited to give it a go. And the fact that Dovetail had it modeled for 7 years but couldn't release it without sounds, that is just absolutely crazy, but at least it shows they're always planning ahead. So it's clear they've been wanting to get this in the game for a while. So up next is Stuttgart to Heilbronn. So Lucas confirms this is finally Baden-Württemberg content set specifically in the 2000s. I think the year 2000. I'm not entirely sure though because of the translations. So the focus is going to be on freight with the BR140, and for passenger runs you'll get the BR111 and N-Wagon and the Wittenberger Sturwagen cab car. You'll also see Stuttgart Hauptbahnhof in its older form, Rosenstein Yard, and Kornwestheim in full size. About the tunnels, Lucas says only the main station is represented, and he explains that large underground structures can be heavy on performance, so they're being cautious. He also explains why Baden-Württemberg has taken so long to arrive in TSW, and it's because the state hadn't provided the required aerial terrain data before, so this is all new information. And thanks to new open data laws, they're now required to share it, which finally made this possible. So I don't know much about this region, but it sounds like it's going to be an interesting run. I am excited for this route. I do enjoy older stock and older eras, so this one is going to click for me. Now on to the TSG expert line, the BR145. So Lucas states that the new expert loco is the BR145, which we did already know from our roadmap. It's versatile enough to handle both passenger and freight. You'll see it in DB red and RBH blue. He confirms that new advanced interactions are included, like manually connecting brake hoses, something players have asked for to deepen the expert experience. Alongside the loco, Lucas says that there are new pocket wagons for truck trailers being delivered, and licensing for the trailers themselves is being worked on. So at launch, you'll get the BR145 in those two liveries, plus 4 new freight wagon types. Lucas adds that some older wagons are being overhauled as well to support the new features, like brakes that can overheat or stick and actually behave and animate correctly. And price-wise, he says it'll be in the same range as the Expert BR101. For cadence, Lucas mentions the plan to release a new expert loco roughly every 8 months. They already have ideas mapped out through 2028, guys. Wow. But he does make it clear that quality comes first. If something takes longer, then it takes longer. I personally love the DBBR101, even though I'm still salty it doesn't have full rail driver and custom controller support. For me, an expert loco should launch with full rail driver and custom hardware support. That's what realism players expect. Still, I'm always on board for deeper mechanics and micromanagement. If it can break or behave a certain way in real life, I definitely want to see that reflected in the sim. Of course, the 8-month turnaround sounds realistic, and depending on team size and given the quality that we have seen, I am very hopeful. I just wish they would fix some of the DBBR101 experts sound issues. There is a lot of clipping with the audio. Now on to other teasers and projects. So on the Mittenwald teaser that reads, "Don't smoke, kids, unless it's Steam Loco." Lucas says that he can't reveal what it means yet, but hints that many community guesses have been right. Details will come early next year, I'm assuming in 2026. He also confirms the BR420 is planned for release, of course, with a new orange livery, which we have seen in our roadmap. And about other TSG projects like the Ludmilla, Lucas stresses that nothing has been canceled. They're just focusing on finishing what's already been announced before talking about anything else. So there's definitely much more to come from the TSG team. I don't know, that whole teaser just screams German Steam to me. I would love to see American Steam someday, but I don't think that's realistic given how hard it is for Dovetail to get US access, even for modern railroads and modern locomotives. German Steam though, that definitely feels possible. And for the BR420, I'm definitely very excited for that. It's been teased for a while, and knowing it's finally coming in TSW6, especially with that orange livery, is great news. So before we wrap this video up, Lucas mentions there's a plan to do a German language live stream on the same day as the official Dovetail preview for Leipzig to Dresden. I will definitely be tuning into both. Even though I don't speak German, I'll definitely be listening for the translation. Sometimes small details pop up in one and not the other, and I definitely don't want to miss anything, and I do enjoy German content anyways, but overall I am optimistic about TSW6, but still very cautious. Bugs are my biggest concern. We already have trains getting stuck at red signals, and I'm worried about how random events with those signal faults and delays will interact with that. I hope it doesn't create more cases where signals just never change and we don't know if it's a bug or if it's just the new delayed signals that they're adding. So that's gonna be everything from the interview. I want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about the new announcement system and the way it adapts to delays in different countries? Are you into random events and train faults, or are you going to be switching them off for a smoother ride? If you've been waiting on a proper heavy shunter, is the BR294 enough to nudge you towards deluxe, or are you still sticking with the base setup for now? And on the expert side, what do you want to see after the 145 lands? Definitely share all of your comments and your concerns if you have any below, and always your constructive feedback too. We always welcome that on the channel. As always, thank you guys so much for checking out the video. Take care guys, and happy rail simming.